Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. As you know, for WWE Evolve, a lot of things have been changing. As you probably know, we have a brand new Evolve Men's Champion, Aaron Rourke. But the real question is, where do we go from here? Well, it seems now new prospects have been making their way into Evolve, and now they're gunning for, of course, the title itself. And of course, the foreman, Timothy Thatcher, has set up a series of matches involving, for of course, the vacancy of the Evolve Women's Championship. So we'll see how things will progress from there. And then we move on with AEW Dynamite. As you all know, we're on the road to Dynasty. So a lot of things are taking place on this one. We do have the AEW World title contract between Kenny Omega and MJF. We even have, of course, Will Ospreay taking on Pac. As you know, Will is on a crusade to destroy Jon Moxley for what he did to him months ago after that steel cage match that took place. And then, of course, we have plenty other things as well taking place. And then, of course, first things first, we're going to be reviewing the very interesting collaboration between Mystery Wrestling and Baka Gaijin and Friends. If you guys remember, Uno, as you know, the guy who runs Mystery Wrestling, decided to make a trip to Japan, and he recently made appearances in both Choco Pro on both shows, which is the big show, and the collaboration. Well, this time he decided to visit the other collaborator involved too, which is Chris Brooks' promotion, Baka Gaijin and Friends, which is going to be a lot of fun. So I can't wait to review this. And then, as always, we'll wrap up our episode, as usual, with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including some developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. In the world, pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information is unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us and click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on a like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough of the jibber jabbers. Let's get started. So, let's begin with the collaboration between Mystery Wrestling and Baka Gaijin and Friends. Okay, Mystery Wrestling and Baka Gaijin and Friends collaborating, as you know. And let me backtrack a little bit about this, of course, for everybody. If you guys hadn't remember, Evil Uno took Mystery Wrestling across the Pacific to the land of the rising sun. He appeared, of course, collaborating with Choco Pro once again, appearing in Ichigai Square along with his guys. But he did show up in the next event with them on the at the Promise event that took place in Shinkiba first ring. But now we are seeing him collaborating with Baka Gaijin and friends, which is a similar type of way as Choco Pro, which I think it was interesting to see. So this event recently happened, of course, last month on the 17th of March. Let's get started with the whole thing. We opened up with uh, Daiwa, Yuiki, and Princess Ram, along with Munich, who's still out after being injured. They take on, of course, the Best Bros. Now, of course, we were going to see some shenanigans when it comes to make sure we go how things were doing. But of course, we know Yuiki was going to do some shenanigans too, which we often see all the time. But however, Munich, I don't know why if he's injured, why he gets involved in this. Well, unfortunately, he ended up getting taken out. So that's what he gets for being that much of an idiot. But it was, of course, the Dolphin Press onto Yuiki, but it was Mei Shruga who made the pinfall, and just like that, uno, dos, tres, it was over. Our next match, we have Antonio Honda and Transam Hiroshi taking, of course, the guys from Mystery Wrestling, Hattie and Junior Benito. If you guys remember, they appeared in both shows in Choco Pro, which is in Chigai Square, and The Promise. But this time they are appearing in this one. But I was like wondering, do these guys have any idea what they're getting themselves into? Because if you guys ever seen Transam Hiroshi, he has as a way of trying to entertain people, get you singing and dancing. And as for Honda, well, he often does the timeout, story time, that sort of thing. So he does that. But there was a funny moment where, of course, Junior Benito gave both these guys a spanking that they deserve. But in the end, we did see, of course, Hattie applied a submission onto Honda, and Honda had no choice but to tap out. So that's how things end right there. Now, our next match, we have Fuminori Abe taking on Maho. Now, of course, Fuminori Abe is a strong wrestler, and not to mention, from what people tell me and people comment, the guy can hit hard. But Mao, well, he's a bit of a strange wrestler with a lot of personalities. Literally a lot of personalities. I mean, you don't know who he's gonna be. Is he gonna be gay, or is he gonna be this type of person? That sort of thing. But nonetheless, he hits hard too. But however, he was able to put Abe in a crucifix, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, we did see, of course, the two guys of the respected promotions. Chris representing Baka Gaijin and Friends, Evil Uno representing, of course, Mr. Inc. However, Chris Brook was under the assumption that his tag partner was going to be someone from Canada, where, of course, he's from. But however, Evil Uno said, no one told me to bring a guy from Canada, but he did say he called someone to be his tag partner, and I didn't expect it. I'm sure many people didn't expect it, and it was Kikutaru. Now, for those who are new to the channel, don't know who Kikutaru is, let me explain to you guys. Kikutaru is a masked wrestler. He's a funny wrestler, but he does this thing where if you put a hot chick right in front of him, he'll be a bit of a pervert, and he tends to grab them inappropriately unless the girl runs away. One time he got his butt handed to him by, of course, Shigusa from Marvelous. So that's the kind of thing he is. But nonetheless, he's a capable wrestler. But as for Chris Brooks, well, I did not expect him to pick his tag partner, someone that he has faced recently, and that person is ELP, El Phantasmo. I did not see that coming. But what interesting is this: Baka Gaijin and Friends have this tendency of copyright of the music of the entrance of every wrestler, except El Phantasmo. I don't know why, but it worked in his favor. But I thought it was great. But man, the match was pretty good. I think it was a real fun and all that. I have to say, crazy. But the one thing that sealed it is Chris Brooks putting some firecrackers inside of a box, and El Phantasmo putting Evil Uno in the CR2, then dropping him right on the box of firecrackers and lighting him up. Well, he wasn't on fire, but it must have hurt like hell. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, ELP and Chris Brooks picked up the win. So I thought it was a fantastic match, and I thought it was real fun to see the collaboration between these two promotions. I hope they do it again. I would love to see that. So I think that's pretty much it right now with Baka Gaijin and friends, along with Mystery Wrestling. Let's move on with our next review, and that is, of course, Evolve. Okay, WWE Evolve. Now, we did see a bit of a video promo coming from our current men's Evolve champion, Aaron Rourke. Now, Aaron Rourke, as you know, calls it a new era in every way due to the fact that new prospects are entering the domain. So he knows exactly what's good to come. So many of these prospects will probably have their eyes set on his championship. So he'll be keeping an eye out and all that. But he also mentioned, as you know, the qualifying matches for the Gauntlet involving for the Women's Evolve Championship. So he's addressing that situation too. So I'm glad that our newly appointed champion and, of course, locker room leader of the Evolve is paying attention what is going on. So he's playing where I am aware what's going on, and I'm not going to turn my head around for nothing. So that sort of thing. Now, our first match we have It's Gall. Now, of course, a couple weeks ago, It's Gall, well, let's just say he anointed our foreman, Mr. Thatcher, about getting involved in this whole new era thing. So Thatcher decided to put him with someone, and he put him with someone named Darian Van Dukes. Many of you may know him from, if you guys follow the European wrestling scene, Mike Diavinici, as you know, who is recently been signed part of the Prospects. Now he has a new name, which is kind of interesting to hear. However, of course, we did have other prospects involved, mostly coming from Europe. They were in the VIP lounge, but the match itself was okay. It's Gall did hold his own, but unfortunately, Dukes put him in a gut wrench powerbomb, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, Xena Sterling, as you know, who's been one of the PC girls who's been making recent appearances, wanted to be involved in that whole series qualifiers for the Gauntlet match to become the first ever, the next Women's Evolve champion. However, the foreman told her, look, I understand your tenacity, I understand your desire and fire, but however, the one thing you don't have is wins, which of course matters. I mean, for Thatcher, it's like saying, I can't just put you in a match where you don't even have a win at all. I mean, you don't even qualify in that factor. I mean, I can tell you're strong, you're capable, but you just don't have that. So, of course, I understand Thatcher's, what he's saying. But as for Xena, well, let's just say she doesn't understand it herself, so she went a little temper tantrum, grabbing a chair and whacking it. So, yeah. Now, Tate Wild later on was on the hunt for, of course, Cam Hendricks and Riggins after what they did by jumping him at the parking lot of the PC. So you can tell what's been going on there too. Now, our backstage interviewer, of course, Troy Martiz, introduced new prospects making their way. CJ Valor, of course. I don't know who he is. Santi Rivera, who I think we may have seen him in Prestige. And then there's of course Chaz Starboy Hall. Many of you guys know him as Starboy Charlie. So it turns out that he's in there too. So all three of them are involved in a #1 contendership for the Evolve Championship. So the real question, who's going to pull it off? And I think many people, in my honest opinion, were rooting for Starboy for obvious reasons. I mean, he is the most recognizable wrestler I mean, I'm glad they let him keep the name Starboy, but he was able to pick up the win when he applied the shooting star press on CJ Valor, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. So it was over just like that. Now, we did see earlier Tate Wild was still on the hunt for Cam Hendricks and Riggins. However, he did ran into Luca Cristofino, who was saying, look, you need to stop with this negative energy, bro. He says, how about this? You and me will take care of them in a tag team match next week. So Tate Wild kind of like, I'll take any partner I can get. I mean, it's no secret that he has many tag team partners he teamed up, so that's one of the reasons he'll do it. Now, our main event, of course, is for the qualifying for the Gauntlet match for the Evolve Women's Championship. We have 5 ladies in the 5-way. Wendy Chu, Lainey Luck versus PJ Vasa versus, of course, the first inaugural champion, Callie Armstrong, and then of course we had Nikita Lyons. Now, obviously, we know that Callie Armstrong is the first ever champion, and she's determined to get back on her high horse in hopes to regain this belt that she lost. But she has to go through 4 other women. But the real question is who's going to pull it off. But PJ Vasa became the force to be reckoned with because apparently Wendy ended up on the wrong side of the issue by PJ Vasa, and just like that, 1, 2, 3 goes over. Now, I want to make a quick note about this. I do have that distinct feeling that PJ Vasa could be the next Evolve Women's Champion. Obviously, she, as you know, was unsuccessful in gaining that belt, but I wouldn't be surprised if she definitely does it. So we'll see where that leads us from there. So stay tuned for more. I think that's pretty much it. So let's move on with our last review, and that is, of course, AEW Dynamite. Okay, AEW Dynamite made their way to Winnipeg, Ontario, Canada, and what we did not expect is Judas himself, Chris Jericho, making his return. Now, it wasn't much of a promo, it was more like, I'm back, that sort of thing. Now, it's still unclear exactly what he's intending to do, but that's how things started. And to be honest with you, that's okay, because I think many fans are just glad that he's back. Now, we did see Will Ospreay in the back attacking Jon Moxley, tried to break him in half. Even Wheeler Yuta tried to get involved, but he got himself handed to him. And then security tried to separate both men. Even Marina Shafir showed up too, but we'll see those guys. We'll see Will Ospreay soon when he faces against Pac. Now, we did see the AEW World title contract signing between MJF and Kenny Omega. Now, MJF, as you know, he dislikes Canadians and all this other stuff, despite that this is Kenny Omega's backyard, of course, since he is from Canada. And not to mention, of course, he tells him the only reason all this is because he knows that, about his intestines that he had about a year or two ago or something. So he's been making kind of a comment about that. And of course, MJF has been antagonizing Kenny Omega, trying to get him to punch, because if he punches him, well, the AEW World title will never going to happen. But however, thank God for Mike Bailey, who showed up to try to make things clear. He even said that Kenny Omega is a living legend, and he's the reason AEW exists, and he's the reason that MJF exists. So, of course, probably MJF does not like what he was hearing. But however, of course, Mike Bailey told him that he's willing to take him on in the main event. So, we'll see that a little later. Now, Kenny Omega was in the ring, of course, while he's being waited by the Demand. Which, of course, as you know, recently, there was a conspiracy going around by Ricochet saying that the reason that he lost the AEW national title was because Teo Leona and Bishop Khan were, banned from ringside, and their absence was the reason that they lost the AEW national title. And he blames Kenny Omega for this, and of course that snake Don Callis agrees with him. But however, Kenny Omega is joined by both Brody King and, of course, Jack Perry. Now, of course, I'm sure Ricochet can't stand the fact that his title is in the hands of Jungle Jack Perry. And I thought the match was pretty good. I mean, there was some great moments, but there was a bit of miscue with Kenny and Jack, but that was resolved, of course. Kenny was the one who was able to made the final blow by taking out Ricochet with the one-winged angel, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, over. Now, Will Nangil put out a video promo, as you know, indicating that she's willing to put an open challenge on Collision for the TBS title. However, the real question is, who's going to step up? I don't know, but we'll just have to wait and see. Now, Renee Paquette was waiting outside for the arrival of Christian Cage and Copeland. Now, of course, they are determined to deal with FTR one way or another. And not to mention, Christian was about to whack Renee Paquette, saying, hey, she's not in our way. So, basically, there's that. So, they went, of course, to the FTR locker room, but sadly they weren't there. But unfortunately, RPG Vice was there too. So basically, they were there. They told them that they would see them on Collision, and of course, Christian goes, "Aren't they in our way?" "Oh yeah," and they just whacked them and then delivered the message for us. So basically, sending a direct message to FTR. Now, our next match, we have Pac versus Will Ospreay. Now, before Will Ospreay made his way, somehow Pac snuck around and attacked him from behind, tried to break his neck, the same injury that put him out of action for 6 months. And of course, I'm sure that is something that Death Riders are considering, is by using that. But we've been seeing Pac was targeting that many times over against Will, and Will has been trying to put up a strong face to ensure that he cannot let this, diminish him one way or another. He even put him in the brutalizer, but somehow Will Ospreay was able to withstand that. And then, of course, he took out, Will Ospreay took out Pac with a pinfall, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But of course, whenever something like this happens, the Death Riders show up and attack him. And then we saw they put him in once again in the chair, the same kind of way they took him out last time. However, Jon Moxley with his little ridiculous propaganda saying, "You think I'm the one who put you this? No, you put yourself into this." So basically, he's saying that this was his fault, not Jon Moxley. I mean, Jon Moxley, he put him there because he was crying like a little girl when they lost in that blood and guts match. That was the whole point, but he doesn't see that himself. Now, our next match, we have the Triangle of Madness teaming up with Mina, taking on the Brawling Birds and Mina Shirakawa. As you know, that was the whole thing. I mean, it's no secret about Mina Shirakawa and Tekla's relationship that dates back all the way to Stardom. And I thought it was a pretty good match. Now, of course, we would have assumed that Triangle of Madness would do whatever it takes to win by cheating, by using things, not to mention the brass knucks that Tekla used all the time. But unfortunately, that did not happen. Basically, it was Jamie Hayter that took out Julia Hart with the Haterade, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, Darby Allin, as you know, is on a mission to go get the AEW World title. However, Don Callis is determined to prevent that. Doesn't want Darby Allin anywhere near that title. So he's made a deal that he'll take him out. He did send the Murder Hawk, but he was taken out by Darby with the skateboard. Then, of course, Echi Seto and El Clone showed up, but out of the blue, Jack Perry and Brody King took him out. And then, of course, Kenny Omega showed up. So it seems now they both walked different paths, despite the fact they're aiming for the same thing. But he did told Darby, from what Kenny said, that if I do win, I'll see you down the road. So that's kind of much what they're implying. Now but Kenny, on the other hand, stayed around because he's watching the match with MJF and Mike Bailey, and of course that sort of thing. And he gave a lot of high praises with Mike Bailey, a lot about his fighting style and all that stuff, and he was very impressed by him. I mean, we would have assumed that Mike Bailey could have won this match, but no, MJF was able to apply the Heat Seeker, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. So we'll see what happens in Collision all the way from next week, as you know, as we head to Dynasty. So stay tuned for more. But as of right now, we are officially done. Let's move on with the last and final thing, news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin with upcoming events, starting with GCW. Now, as you know, we had the Las Vegas stuff coming from the Collective. They just announced for the World on Lucha on the 17th of April. There's going to be a Lucha Extrema between Viperous and El Desperado. And then, of course, the following day on the 18th of April, the Immortal Clusterfuck. 4 more names have been added. Marcus Mathers, Dark Sheik, Connor Clarkston, and Anakin Murphy. Now, moving on, as you know, House of Glory will also doing the Las Vegas show Culture Clash on its 16th. They just announced that the House of Glory World title will be on the line. The Root of All Evil Charles Mason will defend it against Michael Oku. I hope Michael Oku knows what he's getting himself into. We'll just have to wait and see. And of course, the Las Vegas show by Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, part of Slam Fest on the Multiverse. They just announced Michael Oku will be participating there too. Now we do have, of course, some Stardom event matches involving American Dream. Let me pull that up for all of you. Now it's now been confirmed 100% that the New Japan Strong Women's title will be defended. Alex Windsor will defend the title against Saya Ida. But that's not the only matches that have been announced. We do have, of course, a trios match. Mei Seira, Starlight Kid, and Azumi, members of Neo Genesis, will take on the combined forces of the Babes of Wrath, Harley Cameron, and Willow Nightingale, along with the former AEW Women's Champion Chris Statlander. Athena will take on, of course, Rina. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Rina goes a bit aggressive towards her, because Athena likes to beat up those who she thinks are beneath her. But, however, with Rina, she'll call her an old hag. I like to see that happening. And then, of course, we have Mina Shirakawa teaming up with Maika. They'll take on Hanako and Yuri Him. But what I like interesting about this match, Maika has played mentor to Hanako, and Mina has played mentor to Yuri Him. Now we got the masters versus the students. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup. And then, of course, we have Spark Yoshi Peruso of America with another participant. Hold on, I think I got that one. I didn't put it in my notes. Hold on a second. Yes, they just announced Danny Moe will be participating, so thank God I still have that lying around. Now on to some developments here. Lady Frost, as you all know, recently, April 1st, is marked that she is no longer part of AEW. However, after 24 hours, it was later discovered that she has signed with Major League Wrestling. Now, I know what some of you are going to think. It's April Fool's. No, it's no joke, guys. She even confirmed it. Yes, it's for real. She is signed with MLW. I mean, I get people the joke, but yes. Now, Fightful Select reports that New Japan Pro Wrestling had a meeting with the board of directors, and apparently they have agreed to transfer all Stardom shares to Bushiroad. So, as you know, Bushiroad is the company that owns both New Japan and Stardom. Well, Stardom was owned partially by, of course, New Japan. So that's pretty much what's been going on. Willie Mack, as you may have heard, for a while he has not been seen in Ring of Honor or AEW, but he grew some frustrations that he was not utilized enough, so that kind of sets it up. But now he's back doing independence, that sort of thing. DAGA, recently during the much recent show on April 1st, of course, he is no longer part of Noah. He said this in Spanish. I'm going to translate it for all of you. Japan, Noah, I love you guys, but today is my final. Thank you. Now, some of you probably questioning what is going on. There's been rumors circulating that he might go to AAA and WWE. As you know, he has wrestled in AAA before, so that could lead to that. I'm not 100% sure. So we'll just wait and see. As you know, with the recent developments going on with Pro Wrestling Evolution, with the departure of both Zones and Chi-Chi and a new role within the company itself, they just set up a statement recently. Let me pull that up for all of you. So this is what they said. We sincerely thank you for continuing our generous support and patronage. We are pleased to announce, with the aim of further development and strengthening the business foundation of our organization, we now operate as a evolution division of Only Advanced Company. Throughout the structure change, will establish a more flexible, dynamic operational framework, enriching activity environment for our affiliated athletes, and striving to provide excellent, exciting events and performance that will further satisfy our fans. Please note that this change does not involve any alterations to the organization name or business content. We will continue to conduct events and various business activities under the establishment framework as before. We earnestly look forward for your unwavering support and encouragement moving forward. March 31st, Riawa Pro Wrestling. Evolution. So yeah, so basically the things that have been happening with the company, they will be remaining the same, but some things will be changing within the company itself, the structure. So that's what we do know for a fact. I think that's pretty much it. So let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we have AEW Collision happening as well, because they're not going to have it decided for some odd reason. But I'm glad that we're going to have that. We have, of course, Ring of Honor and what else we have? Oh, yeah, and TNA. But also, I did learn that we are continuing with more of New Japan, so we will be doing that. So hopefully I get that right. I mean, I got some things to do on a Thursday, but nonetheless, that's the general plan. So until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.